Hello there. How is everyone this evening? Welcome to Friday's Hope, a place where we share hope for Friday and every day for everyone, everywhere, regardless of the situation or circumstance. There is always hope. My name is Sue Barnhart. I am one of the ministers at the Worship Center Ministries here in Northern Illinois. And if you saw any of my posts on Facebook, it was kind of a diary of a minister's life, and I wanted to be kind of share some things and be pretty transparent about life. And of course, I can only be so transparent as a minister. I can't share a lot, obviously, but I can share some things and just share with you what I've learned over the years being a born again believer, being a minister, being a deacon, being a mom. That all by itself teaches lessons, doesn't it? Being a grandma, being a great grandma, being a daughter, taking care of my own mother as she became ill. Being a wife. I mean, there are so many things that I've learned in life that work and maybe don't work really well. And so I've gone through many different trials and tribulations and struggles and different things that have come up in my life. And I just felt like I wanted to share some things with you, on just having difficult days. I guess what brought this up is I was thinking the other day, boy, I have had some difficult days in my life. How in the world did I handle it? Well, some days, in fact, many days, I didn't handle things very well. I isolated myself. I didn't talk to anybody. That's not a good idea, guys. Or, people ask, how you doing? Well, I'm fine, I'm good. Yeah, lying straight through my teeth. And so many other things that I did. In fact, I used to tell my friends, if you don't hear from me, I'm going through a struggle. Well, how's that going to help? That's not going to help anybody, including especially me. Least they could do is pray, maybe. And that's exactly the opposite of what I've shared weekly. I've shared weekly, reach out. So over the years, I've learned, and I want you to hear that word learned. I've learned. It's a teaching, it's a learning process to reach out not only to God, but to others. I don't do that well. I'm doing it better. So something I've been looking at myself as where the signs are when I'm mentally fatigued. This is important, guys, to know those signs so you can catch it right away. Okay, so you can understand that maybe you're going through something and you need to do some things before it gets worse. Okay? You need to just check things out in your own self before you get worse. And so this is what this is about, is just sharing me and sharing some things that I've seen in my own life about how things work and how things help when you go through different struggles. So we're going to talk about some of the signs that we're mentally fatigued and emotionally tired. See, back in the day, I always kept going. I didn't keep track of any of that. I didn't even stop for a minute. I just kept going. I'll be okay. It'll work. Yeah, I'm tired. I'll take a nap. Other things like that. But I've always kept going. I had a job. I had several jobs. I was raising kids. I was married. I had responsibilities. Did I mention I had children? They were all very active in many different things. And then being a minister, being a part of the church, moving many, many times. So I wasn't always aware, nor did I take time to be aware that I was at emotionally and mentally at a breaking point. I never stopped long enough to check on myself. Hear that, guys. I never stopped long enough to check on myself. That's so important for those of us who just keep doing. And I know there's a lot of us out there. I know there is. Some of my good friends are just like that. And I didn't stop long enough to help myself and to heal. We've got to learn that, to stop long enough to check on ourselves. I just kept going. And some of the stress and trauma just passed, so I didn't think it was a big deal. And really, what I did is I ended up burying it, and it became a big deal after a while. Massive depression, suicide ideation. Yeah, I just kept going, and we have to know that we have to take care of ourselves. So I've learned, that's one thing, we've got to learn new ways to take care of ourselves, and we have to stop and become sort of introspective so that we know what's going on in our life. So the first sign that I'm struggling with being overwhelmed with mental or emotional issues is I get angry very quickly over stupid stuff. Like I drop something, or something doesn't stay where I put it. Now that makes no sense. I just bend over and pick it up. It's supposed to stay put. It's not supposed to fall off the ledge. Or what else? A printer doesn't work right, or the paper gets jammed in the printer. Come on, that's everyday office stuff. But it would make me angry very quickly. Now, I'm not talking just a little bit frustrated. I'm talking angry. Or I don't know what else. Little things that are normal everyday stuff would instantly make me angry to the point that I wanted to just throw something or holler or scream, whatever, over little stuff. So that was the first sign that I am mentally fatigued, mentally overwhelmed. And that's a good word for us to remember. How if we're overwhelmed by things, and that's another sign as well. The other day I had several things to do, nothing big deal. I do them all the time. And all of a sudden I started feeling myself overwhelmed. I went, oh, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? This shouldn't even be. And yet I was. So I knew I was at a place where I was getting mentally fatigued. You just got to know yourself. Know yourself well enough to know that we're getting in a dangerous spot. I get tired. Well, I get tired a lot because I do a lot. Praise God. I mean, I'm not upset about that. Hi, Barbie. Good seeing you today. But I get more tired, like feet a dragging on the floor to get from one step to another, or sitting down in the recliner and falling asleep, waking up on one show, going to sleep on one show, waking up on the next, barely able to move and take care of things. That's not just being tired, that's exhaustion. And being mentally fatigued is tiring because your mind, it takes twice as much energy to think through things when you're so fatigued or tired mentally. It takes twice as much energy to run your body too then. So I get overwhelmed. When I get too overwhelmed, I get angry and I get tired, extremely tired, exhausted. Another point that I have is I get very pessimistic, feeling like there's no hope. and I'm the one that's teaching on hope. Okay, there, you know, there's a sign for me. Or it's not going to work out, or fear. Now, I just talked about how many issues or how many things I had to do, and I was getting kind of overwhelmed. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to handle them. Come on, I've handled them time and again. Or I was going to disappoint somebody, or I'm going to do something wrong, or it's not going to happen, or I'm going to fail. Heaven forbid that I fail. Come on, I've failed many times. But those pessimistic, fearful feelings creep up in you when you get mentally exhausted, mentally fatigued. Those things you feel like nothing's going to work out, or it's I even had a client one time, no matter what I shared with her, she's, nope, that's not going to work. Nope, that's not going to work. It didn't matter what it was. That was her automatic answer. But that's not the answer. And so she was stuck in some kind of place where she never saw how things were going to work out, because they do. Time and again, they do. I isolate myself. I mentioned earlier when I first came on, I feel like I can't handle anything. This goes along with being pessimistic. I feel like I can't handle anything. I feel like the simplest tasks are greater than me. I feel like that I can't get the laundry and the dishes done, or I just don't want to make my bed. And I know when I don't even want to open the mail. I don't even want to get the mail, let alone open it. I just put it on the side table. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here, Sue? Something's happening that you just don't even want to open an envelope? Well, because I was feeling so pessimistic, and so I'm isolating myself away from everybody and everything. No, that's another sign that you're mentally fatigued. Here's one that really caught me when I first learned it. I struggle with my cognitive thinking. In other words, remembering how to do simple things that I do all the time, or forgetting what I just did. Sounds like Alzheimer's, doesn't it? Except it isn't. It is because I am so simply stressed and mentally fatigued, overwhelmed. I can't remember passwords that I use all the time on my different devices, or I can't remember if I just put away the dinner that I just made, or appointments or something like that. But it's not just a few times. It tends to become a habit. It tends to happen all the time. Everybody forgets something every once in a while. Ask me how many times I forgot where my keys were. It just happens all the time. It just happens some of the times to all of us. But I notice, and I read information that when you are highly stressed or mentally fatigued, it means you are going to have struggles with your thinking. And I thought, oh, that makes perfect sense. Many times I am struggling because I am overwhelmed. So, first thing, what I want you this week, for those of you who watch, start writing down different signs that you're on mental overload. It's important to know yourself, to understand who you are, so you can stop that train of mental overload, and you can start getting back on that train of hope. You stop that mental pessimism, and you get on that train of, oh yeah, I can do this. I've done it before, I can do it again. Don't let fear, panic, worry crawl in there. Don't let that pessimism crawl in there. That's a sign many times that you're mentally fatigued, that you just can't handle one more thing. So that was about me, but I got to look up the scientific side of this always, always. So I got on the internet, I started searching, and I searched signs of mental fatigue, or being overwhelmed. And here are some signs from what's called WebMD. So here's the first sign: you're angry or impatient. I talked about that. Mental fatigue can put you in a bad mood. You may be short tempered or irritated, snapping at people more often. It's harder to control your emotions when you're mentally tapped out. That's important to know, that it's harder. You know, we all have emotions. They say women have more, but I don't know. I've seen a few men have quite a few in my life. But when we're mentally tapped out, when we're mentally overwhelmed, it is so hard to contain those emotions. It is so hard to stay on the even keel. So that's one sign that you're mentally fatigued. You can't get work done. I've talked about that. That happens to me. Your productivity goes up and down and up and down, but mental exhaustion can make it really hard to concentrate. It also saps your motivation. That's one thing I didn't talk about, but when I'm mentally fatigued, I'm not motivated to do anything except stay in my pajamas and stay in my warm apartment. So lack of motivation, you might get distracted easily or start to miss deadlines. I don't know that's happened that much, although I do know the distraction has happened where I'll go walking through the church doing things, and I walk to do one thing and then I forgot what else I was going to do. And everybody does that. I get that. But sometimes if I'm running on mental overload, it gets tough. And I have to really pay attention to what I'm doing and stop the train of thought, because your mind is wandering and it's running a million miles a minute when you're on mental overload. Many times even small tasks can seem overwhelming. This can look like your mind wandering or drowsiness. It makes it hard to pay close attention to what you're doing. And that is true. Many times I had trouble being attentive to what I was doing. Or you may not react as fast to things. That can be dangerous too, such as driving. Mental fatigue, believe it or not, is linked to car wrecks. Imagine that, being your mind wandering off somewhere or not paying attention, and boom, you're in the guy's back seat or the bumper or whatever. So your mental overload, your mental exhaustion can really cause havoc in your productivity, your concentration, your mind is wandering, drowsiness. So that could be one of the signs you have. You don't sleep well is another sign. You might think it'd be easier to snooze when your brain is tired, wouldn't you? Nope. Mine goes a mile a minute. But that's not always the case. Research shows people who have jobs with high cognitive overload, high mental work, report more symptoms of insomnia than those who don't have mentally exhausting work. Interesting. So those people who are really working on things, hi Pam, good to see you, honey. Those people who have the high intellectual different things that they're using their brain all the time from this, that, and the other thing. That's not me, but those things they're more prone to mental exhaustion, mental overload, and they have a harder time going to sleep. Well, yeah, you just ran your mind 200 miles an hour. How do you expect it to settle down to sleep? So people don't sleep well. And guess what? A lack of sleeping can make mental fatigue, guess what? Worse. Absolutely. I know when I'm tired, my mind just goes right off the rails. I have no idea what I'm doing a lot of times. It's like, wait, why am I here? What am I doing today? So mental fatigue, not sleeping well, they're hand in hand every time. Now, granted, we all have that one or two nights where we don't sleep good. But you know what? Sometimes when it runs on and on and on, you get into that not sleeping well for a long time. That can really cause some mental fatigue in us. You might want to think about looking at that. Is that one of the signs for mental fatigue for you? Doing unhealthy things. You may start to drink or use drugs more than normal. Mental fatigue can take an even harder toll on those who already have a substance use disorder. Experts think that because drug addiction changes parts of the brain that help you manage stress and control impulsive behavior. So, you, or in this case, for me, I don't go to do the drinking or the drugs. I stop doing what's healthy for me. I do just the opposite. No, I don't want to go to fitness class today. No, I don't want to go to bed when I'm supposed to. No, I don't want to eat healthy today. I want all the junk food I can get my hands on. Um, so I twist it around. I do a twisting or a turn up where I don't stay constant with what I need to do. Um, hey, Tony, good seeing you too. Love you, that love all you sisters. What a blessing to have y'all on. So I change direction instead of going to uh, drinking or drugs. I stop doing what's healthy for me and don't have a bag of chips, a diet coke, and some chocolate in my place. That will be a very bad thing in the next few days. So interesting, when you're mentally fatigued, you do unhealthy things. You're depressed. Well, yeah, you may not have any energy or feel like you're moving in slow motion. Sometimes people say they feel numb. That's a real big thing for me. I can feel numb when I'm overwhelmed because that's my protection. That's my protective layer. Go numb and then you can't feel anything. You don't have to deal with anything. That makes it hard to finish things at work or do daily activities. Tell your doctor if you have really low feelings or sense of, hear this, hopelessness for longer than a couple of weeks. That can be signs your depression is more serious than what you thought. Mental fatigue can do that. Being tired can do that. That's the biggest deal with me. I can tell I'm struggling with mental fatigue. It's starting to creep in there when I'm tired. And I have to tell myself, just stop, Sue. You're just tired. You'll be better tomorrow. You'll get some sleep. It'll be okay. So you got to talk to yourself and tell yourself, this isn't a permanent situation. You know what it is. And I do that, and that helps me a lot. I do remember that, Tony. Yeah, she loved them. So, you may be depressed or feeling numb. You worry a lot. And that's part of that fear, too, is it comes up. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do anything. So what do? I start to worry about it. I start to overthink. More mental exhaustion. That's bright. Not really. You become more mentally exhausted, and you might just start to feel panicked or worried all the time. That often happens alongside the symptoms of depression. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed mentally, I'm feeling like I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of things. Therefore, I start to worry that I'm not going to be able to get it done. And that takes me into anxiety. And the anxiety is an alarm that tells you something is wrong. Hello. If you're always mentally exhausted, you might start to feel panicked or worried all the time. That happened to me back in the day. I struggled with panic attacks back in the day. And I started asking myself, I talk to myself a lot apparently, but I asked myself, what is going on and why am I so panicked? It didn't make sense at all. None whatsoever. And I started praying God would show me. And he did. He did show me. And that's a whole nother series. But I was blessed not to have to go to the doctor for them to for them to cease. I was blessed to figure it out and work through it all. There's a wonderful book entitled Inside Out by Dr. Larry Crabb that helped me so much with my panic attacks. I don't even know if it's in print still because this was going on like when I was in my 30s, maybe just, 40 years ago or so. Good book, though, if you ever get a chance to get a hold of it. Maybe the library has it, I don't know. But that worry and that panic can grab a hold of you and it can stay with you. Know that that's a sign that you're mentally exhausted and it's time to take care of yourself. Here's one that I just talked about. Your eating habits can change. Mental fatigue can affect your appetite in many ways. You may snack more than normal. Guilty. Not pay attention to what you eat. Oh, so guilty. Stress can also make you crave sugary, salty, or fatty foods. Or you may not be hungry at all. Cravings. Hello. I love chocolate anyway. That's why it's not in my home. But let me tell you, sugar, salty, and fatty foods is the biggest craving I get when I'm mentally fatigued, when I'm struggled. Now it talks about, you may not be hungry at all. You just learned about my middle daughter who loses weight faster than you and I can say get on the scale and gets excited when she weighs 103 pounds. I don't know what hormone or metabolism she inherited, but sure wasn't mine. But mental fatigue can affect your appetite in so many ways. It's impossible. You make more mistakes. It's impossible for your work to be perfect all the time. And we all make mistakes. All of us. Every single one of us makes mistakes. But mental fatigue lessens our ability to catch and fix the mistakes quickly or at all. I type up the announcements for the worship center and I send them to the leadership and say, hey, y'all, would you read these? Because I know there's probably mistakes in them. And this week, because I'm a little more active than what I needed to be, not needed to be, but had to be, and I had to deal with one or two difficult things. There were more than a few mistakes in those announcements too, but guess what? That's okay. That's a sign to me that I need to check out my mental fatigue, my mental overload, and feel like and just take that rest or do whatever I need to do. Here's an interesting one. You'll feel more pain. But one is different, which makes it hard to say how mental fatigue will affect your body. But you might get more headaches, sore muscles, back pain, stomach problems, me. And I also get these little sharp jabbing pains in my body that shouldn't be there. It's like somebody stabbed me or something. It's weird. I don't have them all the time, but I know that means that I'm mentally fatigued and I need to get some rest. Maybe you're going to have back pain. If you have an ongoing illness such as fibromyalgia, you might hurt a little bit more than usual. If you have any issue, physical issue, I would say, then it might kick in a flare up. I have a couple of daughters who struggle with autoimmune diseases. Barb, yeah, I know you really have been, honey, and I've been praying for you. I'll see if I can't come by and visit you maybe tomorrow, if that's okay. But I have a couple of daughters but who have some autoimmune disease, autoimmune issues. One's been diagnosed, the other one's in process of being diagnosed. But what they both have noticed, guess what? When life gets stressful, and one of them's a paramedic, how do you not avoid stress doing that? Anyway, they have flare-ups of these autoimmune disease. Now they know that, and they gratefully know how to take care of it. But stress will do it to you guys. I mean, it will just cause what you're already struggling with to be even more painful or even more struggling. It just really happens. Your mind, your mental fatigue really affects the rest of your body. One time I remember that I had to deal with a real difficult situation. This is a while back. And I have stomach issues. I have colon issues. I've had them all my life since I was 12, 10 actually. Anyway, I found myself ready to want to toss my cookies because of this situation. It hurt me so bad. I had to take care of it. And I wasn't feeling sick to my stomach because I didn't want to deal with it. It was because I hurt so bad for this particular situation. I hurt so bad how it was happening. So it can even affect your appetite and feel more pain. So here are some things to do. Take breaks. You might feel less drained if you take short breaks during long stretches of mental work. There isn't an exact amount of rest time that works best for everyone, but you may want to recharge for a few minutes every 1 or 2 hours. And that's an interesting thought. When I'm in the office or I'm doing whatever, I'm just great guns. Let's just get this done. What would happen if I just took a break and hid out at my desk for a few minutes? I think that would be amazing, you know. And I'm an advocate of napping. I always have been. I always will be. I was one of the kindergarten childs that says nap time. All right, where's my blanket? I'm headed. I have always loved naps. And so some people say, I can't take a nap. I won't sleep at night. Okay, 15 minutes or so. There's a lot of people that say different things about naps. Me, I am in my chair and I am napping because you just need it. Your body is tired, it's wore out, and your mind is wore out too. So take a break if you're in the middle of something difficult. There's been times when all the family was in our home and we were all together. And there was a whole lot of people in my home at one time. I would say there was probably, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, maybe 10 people in the family. Talk about stress. I just went in my bedroom and I shut the door. I said, you got to give me some minutes. And it helped. It helped. Get active. Now, that's the last thing I want to do when I'm on a mental overload. I want to wrap myself up in a blanket and cover my head and go to sleep. But there's evidence that you feel even more energized if you exercise during those breaks I was talking about. Try some jumping jacks. Yeah, that's not going to happen. However, there are different things you can do. Stretches for each minute, or go for a 10 or 15-minute brisk walk. And here's what my doctor told me when I first struggled with depression when I was in my 30s. He wanted me to go out and walk a mile in 15 minutes. Yeah, that didn't happen. Not right away, but I did do it. And I was able to do it. And you know what? It did help. The mind has many chemicals in it. And if I'm just sitting and not active, they all kind of just slump and they don't activate as best they can. When I'm staying active, not only does that increase my blood flow, my oxygen levels, but it increases the good norepinephrine, serotonin, and it decreases the bad norepinephrine. I hope I'm getting those two right. But anyway, it helps the electrons to fire off better, and it really does help to stay active. It really does. And me, at my age, it is imperative that I stay active. I can't sit. I don't dare. I absolutely have to stay active because at 71, if I sit and sit and sit, I'm not going to be able to move again. I've seen elderly people that I've cared for literally sit their life away. Movement is the key. Movement is key. Even if, I had a picture of somebody that may be paralyzed in their bed and they can't move hardly at all. Maybe they can't get up and walk. Can you move your arms? Do you know this gets your heart pumping? I've done that. Just lay or sit in your bed and do this maybe 10, 15 times. Move, keep active, get the blood flowing, get the oxygen flowing, get those chemicals moving. And then after that, find ways to relax. It's hard to avoid mental exhaustion completely, but you can learn to switch on your body's natural relaxation response. Get a massage. Try meditating on scripture. I'm telling you, that's the best, at least for me. Or something simple as watching a funny movie. I've done that. I've turned on different movies that I think are funny or hilarious. Or I watch videos on Facebook that just crack me up, and I save them. The ones with the dogs dancing, or the ones where people jump out and scare other people. Yeah, that probably isn't a good thing to laugh at, but I think it's funny. It's important that we do things that will help our mental exhaustion, that will help us. So just some ways, but I started looking at this and I thought, look, WebMD says the same thing I've been saying for years. Reach out to family and friends, a mental health professional. Meditate on something like scripture, that was my put in. You know, keep active. Even if you can't do anything, sitting on the couch. Can you sit on the couch? Great. Do this. That'll help. I'm telling you, that gets the heart pumping. Do something to get everything going. Did you know sitting is now compared to smoking for a health risk? That's crazy. Move something, anything, any way, as often as you can. Every single one of these listed, except doing unhealthy things, because I stopped doing healthy things, I do when I'm mentally fatigued. And I've had to, again, back to the first thing I started with, learn to do them. I've had to learn to recognize the signs. I've had to learn to stop myself and do those things. I had to learn to take care of the things about me, to take care of me. So what did I do the last time I was mentally fatigued? Most of you can guess. I called my senior pastor. I told him everything that was going on, and that helped tremendously. But the first thing I did before I got there is I talked to God. I said, God, this is tough. This is hard. And be honest with God. Look, he knows what's going on. Be honest with him. God, this hurts. God, I'm struggling with being depressed. God, I don't like this. God, I hate dealing with it. Whatever the words are. So I called my senior pastor and told him what was going on, and that helped tremendously. I felt like the issue wasn't mine to bear alone, and that's a big deal, guys. Do not try and bear what's going on alone. I'm glad Barbie shared with me, so I can pop over and maybe see her tomorrow afternoon. But it's important to not take this on yourself. Our shoulders, these two things, were never meant to bear everything. Then I began to pray, simple prayer. God, I give this all to you. Help me. Show me how to take care of this. Then one of my adult kids called, and I shared a bit, and you know what they did? They called me the next day, and we talk every day, and I'm so blessed about that. And they asked if I was doing better today. Oh my gosh, that lifted my heart more than anything. That's amazing that one of my children would do that. It just blew me away. I also started to realize the situation I was in that I had to deal with is what I should have done, and it's a good thing, and he will work it out. Sometimes when we take care of things, we're not so sure how it's going to work out, but we feel like that's an important way to handle it, so we have to believe that God's going to take it out. And I remember the promises that he's going to take care of me. When I got home, I ate a quick bite and then I sat. This is about the time I struggled. And I didn't move, literally did not move. I napped off and on. I didn't look at my phone. I literally didn't move for 2 hours. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't text anyone. I didn't message anyone. Of course, God. I didn't check any emails. I definitely am talking to God. Nothing. I didn't even open my mail. Not because I didn't want to, not because I was afraid to. I needed mental rest. I even turned on a light. I didn't even turn on a light, and it was between 6 and 8 in the evening. So it was kind of dark. I loved it. My area has a lot of lights in the parking lot, so it's never dark, but it was dark. Then I read some scripture and prayed and got ready for bed. I didn't move for 2 hours. I promise you, not a toe. I just sat. The next morning I woke up early. So I went to my recliner and curled back up and went back to sleep. I still needed to rest. I was still tired. I didn't care. I have the opportunity to be able to do that now. And when I ate, I had lunch. I curled up and slept late. When I did wake, I had a late breakfast that was easy to fix, and one of my favorites, but it was healthy. I stayed good. I was a good girl. Then I had to get ready for some appointments, so I took my time getting ready. No worrying about the clock, no rushing around. I was ready and on time and out the door. When I got to the appointment, some of my friends were there, so I got a hug from them and talked to them a bit. Also, my senior pastor was there, so I was able to share some of the latest news of the events and situations I was dealing with. Then I went into my office and asked God to help me do all I had to do. And by 5, I had several projects done, and I was able to go home. I got some help. I got home, helped my neighbor with the bandage because she cut her leg, and she gave me spaghetti for supper. I enjoyed that immensely. I only ate half, but it was really good. So it's just so important to understand what it looks like when we get mentally overloaded, mentally fatigued. So important. And then to take action on that, because we don't have to live like that. We just don't. We can overcome this. We really can. We're warriors. God says his promises are yes and amen. I'm going to go through this again. His promises, he's given us a life and a life more abundantly. His promises says that he's going to take care of us. His promises says that he's our rock. He's our fortress. He's our one that we can live and by and with. His promises are so good. So we don't have to live in that depression. We really don't. We don't have to live, in that mental fatigue. All we have to do is do the work, is do the plan. Sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden again. Do the plan. Do that. And then I was thinking about the next evening and I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. Asking God how to do these things. Kind of like order my steps, God. Keep me in order. What I should do, what I shouldn't do. And by 8 o'clock, I was working on the largest project I had, and I was ready to go by 10 after I read scripture and prayed. By the end of the evening, I didn't feel overwhelmed anymore and felt lifted up. I don't know where these hiccups came from. All the things I did are what I have been sharing with all of you. As a minister, we see very, very difficult things, and sometimes we have to get involved. And that was the case for me on that particular day. And as ministers, we have to know how to handle it. But All I'm saying is to do the steps, break out of the old way of doing things. If you haven't walked out of a difficult situation feeling better, then maybe there's some things missing about what you're doing and helping yourself. There are ways to live life better and healthier. It just takes us choices and decisions by us to ask God to help us step into new ways of handling difficult situations. His promise is He is life. He has come to give us abundant life. He's here to help us. He's here to give us hope and a future. He's here every minute of every day. We don't have to live discouraged or with this being overwhelmed because He loves us. I love you all, guys. I'm so grateful you're on. To all those who are on later, either on YouTube or Friday's Hope page, and to all you tonight, I am praying for you, and I love you so very much. God bless you.